Welcome to Ask Ms. ERP. The topic of this video is how to define go-live criteria. Hello everyone, Ms. ERP here. In the previous video, number 18, Big Bang or Phased Implementation, I talked about defining criteria that you could use to decide whether you need to revert to your old system as part of a backup plan if you encounter problems post-go-live. These criteria should be similar to those that you use to define your decision as to whether you go live or not. Sometimes it is a better idea to delay rather than try and deal with critical issues after go live. Note that a no-go decision should not be forever, but likely just a short postponement so that you can meet your defined criteria without inflicting too much pain on your end users. I will give you some guidelines to help define your go-live criteria, at least at a high level. Which specific business processes or functions are critical for you will depend on your specific company requirements. For all functional tracks or streams, you need to ensure that all critical processes have been successfully executed from end to end, which verifies that all required functionality has been tested and deemed acceptable by the business. If this is true, then all critical defects have been resolved. This is likely your most important go-no-go criteria. It is likely that there are outstanding issues, and you will need to make sure that they have all been documented and that an acceptable workaround has been signed off by the business. You need to have sign-off from each functional area that all required code or configurations, including that needed for integrations, has been validated as being in production and tested as far as it is possible to do so. Along with the code, you should have validated that your data migration from old system to the new system has been tested and validated, hopefully with the execution of mock cutovers to ensure the timing is well understood. And while the data migration process is important, you must also confirm that the data is accurate via record counts and amounts reconciliation and the running of key reports. Each functional area must have developed and tested security roles for all applications in scope, and this too has been signed off by the business. This includes that any privacy or other sensitive data requirements are also in place. For the project as a whole, you should have a cutover plan developed and successfully validated through mock cutovers. You'll also need a fully baked cutover backup plan, along with the criteria defined that would initiate this activity. I also suggest that you have a high-level contingency plan for a possible extended cutover period, documented by functional area, which means that any required business continuity plans have been updated and are ready to use if needed. You must also confirm that your integrated partners are ready for go live, both for internally integrated systems and external interfaces. They must be tested and signed off by both your business and your external partners. Before go live, transition to support needs to be either complete or is planned to be complete by the end of the warranty or hypercare period. This includes all required support documentation and training. Make sure your service desk or frontline support is prepared with call flows configured, staff educated, and appropriately resourced for go live and subsequent hypercare period. Don't forget about your organizational change management activities. It is a good idea to have your internal go live communications ready. Likely you will need several for different audiences and for different scenarios. Always a good idea to have drafts prepared as time will be in short supply at go live. Don't forget about your partners, whether product vendors or service providers. Make sure that they have been informed of the go live timing and what is expected of them. Your training materials should be ready and any possible pre-training has been completed. You may want to set a threshold here, such as 60% of end-user training has been completed. If you have any train-the-trainer training, This should also be completed, and all of your critical functions should have online help or e-learning readily available. Also make sure your super users are identified and prepared to support end users during Go Live. There will also be some technical Go Live criteria that should be verified as being met. Obviously, your infrastructure has to be in place, cloud or on-premise, for as many environments that are required. If on-prem, it is advisable to be as up-to-date as possible with things like server or database patching. If it is under your control, as it may not be with SaaS, making sure that application patching is current is advisable too. Being code current makes it easier to get support from the product vendor, as they won't be able to just respond to tell you to apply the latest patch for any issue. If you were able to do performance testing on production infrastructure, which again may not be possible in the cloud, make sure that it has been completed and is deemed acceptable. To avoid possible confusion, also make sure that your change control and code deployment processes for each application in scope are documented, well understood, and tested through the complete cycle to be used once live. You don't want to be figuring that out on the fly. Similar to functional support, make sure that your technical support call flows, service desk queues, and processes are all in place, except of course those that cannot be done until cutover is complete. Don't forget to review your technical security setup. Likely you will have some exceptions, like temporary admin rights that will be required for cutover and hypercare. But you should have plans in place to get to steady state here as soon as possible. Ideally, you would have completed a security and controls assessment with no critical gaps identified. Last, but certainly not least, you should have a complete backup and recovery plan in place and have tested it as far as practical or possible. Let's hope you don't need it. This concludes the How to Define Go Live Criteria topic. I have a number of ideas for topics for Ask Ms. ERP, but I'm also hoping that you will post questions that perhaps I can help answer. There is a link on askmserp.com to email me to ask questions or suggest topics for future videos. Or you can just add comments on any YouTube video. Please subscribe to my channel, and if you would like to receive notifications of new Ask Ms. ERP videos, please update your YouTube settings as shown. Thanks, and see you on the next video.